All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam A.K. Marf. Let's get right into it. India seizes 3 Iran-linked U.S. sanctioned tankers. Source says out of Delhi, New Delhi, of course, India has seized 3 U.S. sanctioned oil tankers linked to Iran this month and stepped up surveillance in its maritime zone to curb illicit trade. A source said on Monday, confirming the post by Indian authorities. Now, this is no coincidence. They just signed a huge deal. The U.S. and India have just signed this Make in Media, or the Made in India frickin' program, and it is not surprising to me that they're starting to get back on our side. Of course, as you guys know, I've questioned India in the past, especially since they've done some decisions that kind of make it look like they're not exactly, like they're teetering the fence of on our side or on somebody else's side. Of course, they actually joined in on different drills with Russia, their ally, that China was actually a part of. Historically, India and China have not gotten along too well. So this is definitely a good thing, I guess, in my book. But again, we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. We're going to show you again, now they're saying that China is going to outgun our Navy. Not just outnumber, but outgun it. We'll talk about that and much, much more on today's episode of Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. I said I wonder, the flag above you, is it the same one? You think you wonder? That's why we need our golden dome. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf. Let's get back into it. Before we do, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so again, I just wanted to reiterate on this first story here that, of course, they actually changed the tariffs. Again, tariffs on Indian goods, 18% from 50%. That was lowered after that whole deal with India. Now, if you know, this is really important to know in the bigger picture of things, because this goes back to stories that most people that are just kind of, in and out on headlines and watch every once in a while. As our VP was actually in India talking about the Made in India, program that they're doing. Basically, they're trying to turn into China. They don't have the manufacturing logistics set up like China does, but they're trying to get there. They have a fraction of what China does. China is set up to make stuff for the entire world. And that's why every time we've shown you that map with, all of the traders going with China, why that has essentially taken over the planet, why the entire planet's red, largest, trading partner with China. India is up there. You see a lot of stuff made in India, made in this, made in Philippines, but India is nowhere close to China. But that's what they want to do. And they're undercutting China. They're basically saying, hey, we're going to take all the business from China. This is because we're about to go to war with China, but many people don't really realize this. India is also now on the crap list of China. This is a big, big deal. As our VP was there talking about this whole deal, all of a sudden they had a T attack. And if you know what I mean, like the same one in 2001, only in theirs, of course, people were taken out in public square and they said it was a certain group. That certain group was, of course, in Pakistan, right? Dex, it was Pakistan, right? Am I I'm pretty sure it was in Pakistan, and then they then found that this group was in Pakistan. Then they ended up attacking Pakistan. Pakistan ended up attacking them. Well, right off the bat, Pakistan said that they did not know anything about it. And I am saying Pakistan, and it was Pakistan, correct, Dex?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pakistan ended up, basically saying, hey, we don't know anything about this attack, and I actually believe it, because I think that someone else, another country that essentially has a lot of ties in Pakistan, that powers them with part of their grid, I think that they had something to do with it. That was the biggest message from China, this big attack that, of course, to everybody looks like, oh, this is totally organic, and this is because of this. To me, it's so crazy to think about that this nasty of operations go on with clandestine services, not only with China, but Russia and U.S. and all of us. There's events like this happening around the world that you think are some group or this, when usually it's somebody. It's one of these big countries doing something to basically shift the world order. So it's very, very crazy. That happened, and immediately they went to war for like 3 days. And then all of a sudden, the U.S. had info that they gave to India and said, hey, India, you really need to look at this, and gave them the info. And within 24 hours, they stopped their war. They were like, oh, well, look at this. They probably showed them, and this is my best guess, hey, this was this country, not that one. And they didn't actually do that. And they probably didn't have anything to do with it, right? That's what I think, at least, because they are both nuclear powers, and it was a very, very scary kind of tense standoff. Anyways, this is actually very important. People will brush over these kind of articles, but this plays into this bigger picture that we are now shifting towards India and away from China. This is called decoupling, and it is happening. It's happening in many ways. Dex, let's talk about the satellite images that confirm U.S. aircraft carrier is 150 miles off Oman.
Well, yep. I guess the civilian side, or in this case, the media side, has been scouring satellite images, trying to figure out where the aircraft carriers are, or the Armada, as they call it, is. And the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln is now confirmed to be in the Arabian Sea off of Oman. So I'm assuming it's on the southeastern section, not the northern section, which would put it up near the Persian Gulf, but probably that southern section to be a little further away and protected. But they're saying it's about 150 miles off the coast there. Of course, this is one of the bigger aircraft carriers. It's a Nimitz class. There's an image here in the article that gives you an example of how large it is compared to, say, the Eiffel Tower. It's just as long, if not a little longer, than the height of the Eiffel Tower. Of course, it's got some other information in there, but the main thing, it's, all of our aircraft carriers are nuclear powered, so they basically can stay afloat for a long time, and stay out to sea for a long time, not needing resupply like fuel and things. So, but yeah, that's been going on, as well as other things that are reported in here, including some U.S. military aircraft tracking from the UK heading into Eastern Mediterranean. So we continue to see aircraft, which we reported a lot of last week, building up in that area, specifically into the Middle Eastern theater.
And again, this is just the first one, and we're talking about the Ford coming up here in a second. But yeah, so when you look at this, if I don't know if this is like headed, if they've been heading there this entire time, if they were somewhere around and now they're moving into place. But if you look on the map of where they suggest that this thing is at, they are still in the Arabian Sea, not yet to the Persian Gulf. I don't know if they're going to go into the Persian Gulf, or they're just going to go up to the edge of it, to the Gulf of Oman, and go right up to the edge of the landmass. But we just told you 4 days ago, before the weekend, that they were warning any maritime vehicles and vessels that, hey, you need to stay away from mainland Iran. You even need to stay out of the waterways near Iran. Get out of there. So that definitely gives you kind of a heads up that something is about to go down. Just a few days before that, you of course had all of the countries, including our own, messaging and telling people that are there of their country. Russians were doing it, Chinese were doing it even, U.S. were doing it. Our embassies were telling people to get out of Iran. And not just like the warning that we've had for a couple months saying do not travel there. They actually gave them specific instructions on how to get out. They said, hey, this border's open, the Armenian border's open, this border's open. Go out any way possible and get out of Iran. So we don't know if this is going to be a shock and awe type of thing, if it's going to be a Venezuela type of thing, but I don't think it's going to be no thing because this is getting to the point where either, this isn't a country that's going to surrender. Mind you, there's people all over social media saying that China has just armed them with hypersonic missiles and that, that they've now just been upgraded. Well, the other side of that coin is everybody else is saying, yeah, well, they said the same thing about Venezuela. Venezuela and Iran are on different pages. At least that's my opinion. Venezuela, was a very central kind of power to this as far as the money and the oil. But it's kind of crazy how they were kind of the kid at, the Venezuela was the kid at the kids' table compared to some of the other names in this alliance that they have. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to be popping over to chat here in just a second. So thank you guys. And I appreciate everybody that made it, including our awesome mods. All right. And then, Dex, why don't you hit what they're about to do, what the IRGC is about to do with their Navy?
Well, they started it today. So the Iran Revolutionary Guard launches the Strait of Hormuz drills. These are the exercises amid the growing tensions, obviously with our Armada sitting right around the corner there in striking position, which I think our Armada doesn't have to go right up to the land, doesn't even need to go in the Persian Gulf for that matter. It can handle anything it needs to from the distance it's at and give itself more reaction time if it needs it from any launches from Iran. But the Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guard began on Monday a Navy exercise in the strategic Strait of Hormuz. According to the state media, the intensive drill named Smart Control of the Hormuz Strait, very impressive name there, were being conducted by the IRGC naval forces and under the supervision of the head of the IRGC state. TV reported the drill aimed at testing the readiness of operational forces in the face of a possible security and military threats, the semi-official Tasnim news agency reported.
Now, so first of all, the Hormuz Strait, if you recognize that, that's from a classic video that's been going around our community for a very long time. The guy said, oh, I saw a plan on paper that was, 7 countries in 5 years, with Iran being the very last one on that list. And there's also been talk and rumors about, imagine an event like where there's a boat that's painted like Iran that ends up taking out one of our boats, which now our boats are now in position. Now you have all of social media and specifically a lot of like random people, and they're going viral for saying essentially that our boats are sitting there like sitting ducks, and now China's loaded up with hypersonic missiles, and there's this narrative going in the back of everybody's head in social media that our boats are sitting ducks and that they're about to get hit, right? So I just worry about that. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I hope that they have all sorts of tech that we don't know about that will just knock everything out of the sky. Obviously, we bring our carriers and we bring stuff to the Middle East to knock everything out of the sky we can when they end up attacking Israel. We did last time, and we've done in other times as well. But when you actually look at what's going on here, now you have them out there drilling for, and by the way, great name, Smart Control of Hormuz Strait. Yeah, but it is straight, very smart to control that. But at the same time, now you've got their boats supposedly out there, or they are out there. And then, of course, you've got us supposedly moving into place. Now you have an option. If the U.S. wanted to start a war, and I hope that something like this doesn't need to happen or happens at all, not everybody supports us going to war with Iran. And if there is some sort of reason that we don't know about, behind closed doors, why they're trying to take IRGC out, or why they're trying to take Iran out, you could have a boat that they say is Iran, or you have one of our own boats with our men and women on it end up sinking or having casualties on it, and they say, hey, they point the finger at Iran. It's called the Fantastic Freddy here, but others call it something else. Again, you could have an event like that happen, and then all of a sudden we are headlong into a war. So this is a really, really crucial time to pay attention. It's after a holiday weekend. So, obviously media is not putting out a lot of stuff on anything, right? Everybody's kind of in this like chill in my, lazy boy and hang out. But I'm telling you, these are the times when a lot of stuff ends up happening behind the scenes when media is not covering it. All right. Thank you, JPass James. We've got Stephen McMahon in the house, Stephanie Munoz, Mary McHenry. Thank you, Shastina. Nice. Tinkerman. We've got, of course, Krista. We've got MJ Mikey. We've got High Tech Computers LLC. Nice to see you in the house. Of course, thank you, Kathy Paina. Thank you for being here as well. Thank you, Sean. Nice to see you. In the blink of an eye, everything can happen. And that's exactly what we thought was going to happen with Venezuela. They loaded up these armadas. They had them all there. It was weird. It was like they purposely made it kind of long. It's kind of what they're doing here. And maybe that's because they want it to be so long that they think, they're not going to do anything. They don't have the balls to do it. And then all of a sudden we wake up one morning and Maduro's on a boat. In this case, it would be wake up one morning and the Ayatollah's in Russia. Because I think that they're smarter than, they're not going to let super soldiers walk in and grab him. They'll probably leave beforehand. He might not even be in Iran anymore. He might be in Russia. That would be the smart move. If you were leading one of these countries, would you be in a palace with a bunch of security guards? Or would you be somewhere else where they know they're not going to get you? I would think that they would be running everything remotely. I mean, it is 2026. They could run the IRGC from a freaking Zoom call and not let the IRGC know absolutely anything, the better. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. All right. And then, before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is honestly one of the most important affiliates we have because this, we believe, will save your life in the event of not only an EMP, but a Carrington level event from the sun. So if we have a solar event, this is going to be something that you want to have on your vehicles, have on your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators. All of these things can be protected. And of course, some, have stuff in Faraday cages that they have. I mean, how many people are going to have their laptop just happen to be in a Faraday cage when this all goes down? I don't know. But a laptop is the least important on a list of things like generators and, of course, all of your appliances, everything that you want to run if you're going to be bugging in or bugging out, then you definitely want to have an EMP on it. Of course, on your car, you want to be able to get home. You want to be able to get out. If you do not want your car vehicle to be dead in the water, if it's newer, then it's most definitely going to be if you don't get protection. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Same company outfits DHS, DOW, a DEMSO team helping the Texas grid, FBI, Air Force. You can get the same protection for your home or car, again, at marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. Very easy to put in. You don't need a mechanic. Takes less than 10 minutes and a YouTube video. All right. And then, Dex, let's talk about the Chinese Navy will soon outgun us in our own waters, and it's not an over-there problem. Sounds familiar.
That's what they say. It's not an over-there problem, but they certainly aren't over here yet with their carriers. What do you think?
So, all right. So, first of all, I've been saying this for a very long time that they talk about eye-watering rate, how fast that they're building boats and how fast they're doing this. But many people don't worry because they say, even if they make these boats, they're going to fall apart halfway here. I have been drilling into people's heads for close to a decade that China is not the knockoff products that you get from China. It's kind of like the person that buys the cheap gift for their friends, for their spouse, but then buys themselves a $2,000 TV or something. It's Valentine's Day, so I have a friend that did that. They bought a cheap Walgreens thing of chocolates the same day that they bought a big screen TV. All of our friends are like, God, that is really corny. But again, it's kind of like that person. They get themselves everything and they give you the crappy version. Okay, that's how the China Navy is. Okay, first of all, they're stealing our designs, they're stealing our blueprints, and they are very good blueprints, and they are using them. Everybody knows that they're good at infiltration. Everybody knows that they're good at stealing IP and all sorts of other things. But many people really don't believe that they have the tech to match us. Well, again, how are they not going to match us when they have people inside our country giving them our exact antidotes and blueprints then how do people think that this isn't happening? Not to mention, most of the world is now getting electronics from them. From this, they have set up their logistical country, like the whole logistics of their country is set up to manufacture. This is a bad thing if you're going to war with somebody who not only has an incredible amount of power, their grid is insane. They overproduce power, so much so that their charge could literally charge our entire country. That's how crazy their power production is there. And of course, their production as far as manufacturing, they could turn any of these freaking knockoff factories into making weapons, to making bullets, to making shells, to making tanks, whatever it may be. And that's why people are underestimating China way too much. Not to mention the social media, every kind of operation that they're doing right now to sow confusion and chaos into our own countries. And I say own countries because Europe, Australia, all of these places that have this, left versus right thing, that's not organic in my opinion. I think that is other countries that are purposely making us so confused, doing exactly what the Mongolians did, what they did, they would send in scouts to sow, confusion before they would just waltz right in after everybody was already fighting. Heck, cause a civil war, have us destroy half of our own stuff, and then waltz in and just take over. That's kind of how I see this thing. But now that you've got very, very, and here's the thing, now the narrative's shifting to they're going to outgun us, not just outnumber us, because they already outnumber us, to outgun us. Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah, but I'm still getting back to the point of, while they may have all the ships, they don't necessarily have, the ability to control them across the globe, right? They don't have all the ports, they don't have all the access, they don't have all the resupply and support across the globe that somebody like America has, which is why our ships, set sail and stay out and, port in all of these different countries around the globe, and we maintain the waterways of the world. Where they can't really do that very easily. At sea replenishment is very difficult for them, especially if they're in conflict.
No, and I totally understand that. And this is where I think that containers and container ships have a big thing into this. China has invested in and operates and holds stakes in over 100 shipping ports across more than 50 countries. If you look at that list, it's pretty crazy. And there's a reason why they're fighting over, Panama Canal, and they're fighting over all of these ports. There's a reason why there was a debate over the Australian port, over the some of the other ports that are going on. Those ports, just like Iran can turn a container ship into a carrier, I bet China, and this is my opinion, Dex, China could turn in the regular ports into something that could support long range stuff. They may
be able to get some food and fuel, right? They can dock and get food and fuel, but they don't have ammo depots there. They don't have supplies and military bases there that can restock and change out staff and do all those things.
What about containers filled with ammo? Right when it happens, they have container ships that are already out, lined up by the hundreds. Look at how they've used and this is my only point on this, is look at how they've used their fishing boats. Look at how they've used their civilian ferries. Look at how they've used their cruise ships. And then look at how they've used all of their civilian infrastructure. And then the story we just covered about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, they are completely integrating. They're saying that it's going to be an all-out war, that they're integrating their entire society and civilian society into an all-out war with the U.S. in the future. That's how they look at it. It would be an all-out thing with everything. So they could totally utilize what the entire world already has going on, which is hundreds and hundreds of container ships coming to every country. Those could be lined up. They could do it on a weekend when there's hundreds of ships, and instead of the product that they're supposed to be delivering, they could have ammo, they could have food, they could have fuel, which, mind you, Dex, they've been hoarding fuel, natural gas, oil, they've been hoarding gold, they've been hoarding food, enough to feed 3 of their countries over. So I don't know. I think that they might actually utilize the same thing, the same way that they've utilized all of their other civilian infrastructure. I think that they would utilize their ports in a war. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly might try. It's not as easy as it sounds when it comes to resupplying a military, a fleet of military ships, especially with ammo and all of that. So, It is certainly what they aspire to be, and and manufacturing is not the problem. It is, and obviously it's important to them because they have been investing in all these ports. It's important to build that network but it's not just having access to ports, it's also having control and the ability to wield power around those countries that you have port access to. It's one thing to sell them goods, it's another thing to dictate, which very much so is what America does. America can say, you know what, we're going to do this at this port and you're going to like it or you're not going to like working with us. And usually the country's like, yeah, no problem. Like, set up your military base in our country, where it's why we've got them everywhere. Except for, Germany, maybe, a little pissy right now, but still, nonetheless, it's the power that the US has. China wants the power. They have the infrastructure, right? They need to get the power to be able to dictate that everywhere they go.
Hence the Belt and Road Initiative. That's what they're trying to do, right? I mean, they're trying to get to a point. They're trying to catch up with us in relationships with all these different countries. They're trying to get
debt gives them power. It may not give them as much power, but it's one form of power, right? Having countries that are indebted to them, especially if they can't pay it back, and then they can say, well, in lieu of that, we're going to put a base here and we'll cut that debt down.
I would say it's kind of interesting that they invested highly in South America. When you look at the map and when you look at what has happened in the last 4 years, just say hypothetically that they were planning some sort of big event in the United States. So say for that to happen, I mean, there would have to be like a lot of division in our country, really pushed artificially through something like social media. We would also have to have of course, something with our physical border, one of the only connections into our country physically. We would have to have all of those kind of countries around us, the two that are connected, Canada and Mexico. We would have to have them on shaky ground and having a lot of shady things happening there. And they would have to really focus on the entire path down to South America too. And then they would also have to have all of those South American countries kind of in their pocket. And then I go, well, look at Brazil, look at Colombia, look at Venezuela, look at Panama, look at the Panama Canal and what's going on there. Look at the Darien Gap, what's happening in the Darien Gap. Honduras and Mexico, all of these leaders getting taken out left and right. And they say it's because, they don't like the cartels. Well, the cartels have been there longer than probably more years than the mayors and governors that are getting taken out have been alive. So it just seems to me like all of a sudden in the last 3 years, it is in overdrive, taking out any leader that, stands up to the cartels. Well, what if they stand up to other things too? You look at the South American thing here, you've got the investments that China's making, and then all of a sudden now you've got news that Brazil is doing a space program with China, Colombia, all of these others that they've been loaning money. All of a sudden they're not only getting cozy, they're putting up infrastructure in their country. They're setting up joint programs, all of this. You would need that if you were going to use a landmass to try to get the only landmass that you would really be able to use as far as thinking of Canada as an ally is Mexico. But heck, let's go a step further and say that Canada was compromised, that parts of their government were compromised, which I don't believe or anything. Their new strategic partnership with China is a little odd, and some of the things they've done, like allow China to basically have things right up along our border, properties that they don't even have to check in with anybody on, and have 1,000 people there. But again, local law says, hey, we're not supposed to ask questions. We've got an agreement with China. If there's something important there, they can protect it. So yeah, there's a lot of things that would have to happen. And we would also have to have our NATO alliance really fragile and broken. Dex, what's crazy is, I don't know, I think once a year I watch Red Dawn just for fun. Both the old one and the new one. And the new one, actually, in their fake intro, they had some predictive programming there. They talk about the NATO alliance being fragile, Russia taking Georgia, but basically in the clips they show in the news broadcast, it straight up looks like Russia taking Ukraine. And they even talked about Germany for a brief split second, and they were like, it's just wild how some of these movies that predict stuff, that was in 2008 or 2006 or something like that. And then it talks about North Korea and Kim Jong-un taking over from his father after a stroke. And it was eerily reminiscent of what is happening right now. And, for all those people that say that, this could have been planned for 10, 20, 30 years. Well, yeah, maybe so. Maybe there's a switch in global powers. What do you guys think? Let us know. And then before I do, I'm going to pop over and I'm going to say hello to the chat. Thank you to everybody that made it in already. Again, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, Karen, by the way. I appreciate that. And then let's see here. Let's go back over to the map. Thank you, Briar Patch. Thank you, Louis Strongarm. Terry Biash. Thank you. Flex Shadow, nice to see you. We've got Chance Paladin modding in the house. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, High Tech Computers LLC. Says Marftech Mods, thanks for all you do. Hey, thank you. And then Steve Click. Marf is looking cooler and cooler every day. Vet vibes. Truck. Why the truck word just at the end, like truck? Oh, maybe he was saying trucker, and YouTube cut him off. I hate that. It's so stupid that they allow more letters the more you do. It's like, yeah, well, thank you. And Michael Pittman, thank you so much. Hit the thumbs button up. It helps, again, the channel. Thank you, Michael Pittman, for saying that. I never say it because I don't think anybody actually does. How many times do you guys actually hit the thumbs up or subscribe when somebody tells you to? They say that like a percentage of people do, but again, I don't think I've ever done it when somebody asks me to. It's more like I want to see the next video. So I hope that you guys just want to come back and get the rest of our opinion. Thank you, Steve Click. Says, yes, trucker, LOL, good job. I thought you were using it as like a cool word, like, hey, that's cool, man, truck. Could be. And then NATO, and then look at the narrative change, Dex. NATO will strike deep inside Russia if Putin hits the Baltics. So it's already putting the image in our heads that Russia is going to hit the Baltics, and that could be another Fantastic Freddy in the making, right? All of a sudden the Baltics are hit. And then NATO already said, like, hey, we warned you guys. We told you beforehand we would strike deep inside of Russia if this happened. And then say Russia doesn't do it or does. But what if they didn't do it? And then all of a sudden you have some sort of strike that emanates from Russia hitting into the Baltics. Man, you got yourself a NATO-Russia war. And then China kicks off. Dex, isn't this interesting that it's just straight up to, strikes?
Yeah, it is. And it's the obvious move. If you really think Putin's going to attack Europe, he's going to grab the Baltics and connect up to Kaliningrad. So that would be the first natural move to make, which is why they're saying that. And the response, it came from an interview, as Margus Tashakna said the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania would push back any invaders, and that would be followed by a devastating counterattack on Russian territory. We'll bring the war to Russia and we'll have deep strikes very far into Russia. We know exactly what to do, he said. So, NATO's been throwing the words around as far as this war that they keep describing is going to come from Putin. Putin keeps saying he's got no intention of going after Europe, but he'll certainly strike them if they strike him.
By the way, thank you. Stephen McMahon says Jason Burmis reported a mention in the Epi tranche, maybe interview of the Zodiac Club, a group of uber rich who run the whole enchilada. So I also saw that part where he talks about the Trilateral Alliance, how he talks about, how he just out of nowhere, like he just felt guilty, like he had to say something like, oh yeah, people say it's like, the Illuminati or whatever. Out of nowhere, like it wasn't necessary. And remember that interview, the 2-hour interview that just got posted like 12 days ago, that interview was never going to hit the air. It was media training with Steve Bannon, back when he was with Breitbart. So it was just for him to get media training so he could do it. Like I think he might have paid for that too. So that's why he interrupts him so much, because he's training him how to question things and how to answer. So anyways, in that, he talks about that and the whole vibe of that. And if you haven't seen that interview, it's 2 hours. It is long. I know that most people don't have the time for that. But it is very interesting because he talks about why he was in the science world, that he was recruiting scientists. And again, I said this last week, but for those who aren't there and haven't seen this, he set up shop in Los Alamos, bought property there, because he knew that there were ex-retired scientists from Los Alamos and all the testing facilities in Nevada from U.S. government. So he hired all of those smart scientists to work on this project. Well, what's the project? He wanted to explain the unexplainable. That's what he says. And he's very vague, but he just keeps reiterating like all the unexplainable things. Like, and then he mentions, he goes, if we could take a formula, if we could explain things, God or anything with this formula, then if we apply that to the financial world, game over, right? You could be the richest and the most powerful in the world. And you think about that statement, and that was years ago that he did that interview, and you think about what happened. Think about what happened with CV. And the greatest amount of wealth transfer in the world, the greatest amount of wealth bumped up. And it was surrounding something that many people believed like barely even existed. And somehow all of the countries were on board with this thing. And all of the vast number of things that had to line up for this all to work means that every country was on board. The countries that weren't on board, their leaders quickly perished of unexplainable reasons. Maybe his machine or his scientists could figure out, what happened to them. But again, they all perished, 6 of them in like 6 months, just out of nowhere. And you see headlines like that. They're facts, not theory. And people still don't get it. And then the replacement of certain, things that we all get once a year, certain replacements of like, anybody perishing from that or that, and then replaced with this. Oh, car accident. Oh, we had this, so we'll just write that on it. Those kind of things, right? All of that, you really think about it and go, what if 5 years ago somebody said, hey, if we did this, this, and this, we could literally force the world to give us all their money and to put all this money into something. It would crash everybody else, but heck, the 300 Club or the whole enchilada, we would be, extra sour cream all day. It makes you really wonder. And more money was printed in 1 month. There was 1 month of printing that was going on. 1 day, I believe, but I'm sure it took more than that to print it. More money was printed in the United States than the entire time we've been the United States. So since we were formed to that day, and then all of a sudden more money was printed in that time period than ever before. And people aren't wondering, like, maybe there's some outside forces that are, pulling some strings here. And then at the end of it, yes, there was probably something real, but real controllable that was there. Heck, imagine if there was something out there that, just a simple concoction could fix it. But you make sure that nobody can get that concoction, but everybody else who has the money and can pay for it, they can just bypass all of that, could just get it. Like really simple concoction, like harmless concoction. That sounds kind of crazy, right? It sounds nuts. It is nuts. And then you look at what EpiPen was doing, and it's really, really crazy to think, like, what if some program or some computer or some, simulation did that? But no, I think if he did some simulation that like predicted all of that, then you would have seen some sign, beforehand, or like practice of it, or I don't know, exercises. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, you would have also seen, that they would have had to financially incentivize. Oh, and they would have had to. Oh, yeah, that's right. And they would have to control all of the. Oh, they did. Yeah. So it makes you wonder. Definitely a good watch if you haven't seen that interview. If you get the same vibes that I do, then please let me know. And with this, they're setting up, in my mind, they're setting up already in your head that NATO is going to strike if right? They're making it like, hey, if you guys do this to us, then we're going to do this, as if Russia's right now saying, like, we're going to strike deep inside of Estonia. They're talking as if, the media is covering it as if, that there is a current and, urgent threat against them taking out Estonia, when right now their full bore is still just Russia, Ukraine right now. So I just worry, and I ask the question, Is this to set up a picture in our head that, you know, they're on the defense, and if anything happens, if some strike hits NATO or something happens, that, hey, this is justified. They warned them. They told them, like, hey, we will strike you. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Callie, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the super. I appreciate that. And I'll have to check out the Jason Burma thing. All right, and then Steve Click, thank you so much. Michael Pittman. Today is a short show after holiday weekend. There's not so much craziness, but I will say this. This is exactly when you should be paying attention. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
I will not be doing a shout show today. I will see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully there is one. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Thank our mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Again, hopefully, you have checked that out already. Everybody from Wages World, Ilea, Trinity was in here just last week. A great, amazing person. Rip Crow Readiness, of course, Lisa R. Hall, our longest running mod. Jammer, Gem, CJ Blaze, Chance Paladin has got books over on Amazon. Make sure to go check him out. Again, he is a budding author and has books over on Amazon. And then, of course, RJL Harris and everybody else. Thank you so much. Make sure to, of course, thumbs up the video and subscribe. I'm waiting. No. You tapped right next to it. Oh, thank you. But what about you? Okay, Dave did it. Steve did it. Susan did it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night, guys. Comment again if it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Heck, comment if you think the Golden Dome is awesome. That's why we need a Golden Dome. I said, I wonder, the flag above you, is it the same one you think you wonder? I said, I wonder, is someone taking over under